Hi folks, and welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. This is the Toyota Tacoma TRD Off-Road fit with the 6-speed manual, and it is one of the most affordable ways to get one of these new Tacomas, which begs the question, is it good off-road at this price point? Well, we're gonna go out there, find the mud, rocks, and water, and answer that for you right now. Let's start with a walk around. So powering this TRD off-road is the only engine you can get in this truck. That's a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. And when it's mated with the 6-speed manual, it makes 270 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. And yes, that is slightly less than the automatic. The reason being the manual is RPM limited. It can't spin quite as fast as the auto. So yeah, you lose 8 horsepower compared to the automatic, which is interesting. So TRD off-road, you're not going to notice any huge styling changes like the TRD Pro, for instance, gets. Still, I do think it's a handsome truck with this redesign. The first big change for off-road is right here, the set of tires. So that is a set of BF Goodrich TA Trail Terrains, a nice step above sort of a base highway tire, but not as aggressive as what you're going to find, again, on that TRD Pro. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these tires handle once the conditions get muddy. Behind them is a revised suspension setup, and you do get Bilstein shock absorbers all the way around this truck. So it's going to also be interesting to feel that suspension setup and see how it handles over a stock truck. Now today we have our TRD off-road in double cab with the short bed, so it's just a 5-foot bed, and you'll notice right away we get this cool ARB bed rack. Now this is an official accessory from Toyota, so this will be dealer installed, and it's really noticeable that, you know, it's kind of Toyota vetted. And what I mean when I say that is this thing bolts in at all 3 corners. It's welded on the top, so it's not just all screwed together, and it's absolutely rock solid. And that's certainly important with the bed rack. You want to feel that confidence. So I do think there's something to be said for going with the OEM option, because this has been designed and engineered obviously with this feeling in mind, and Toyota made sure that that thing's going to work for you. And then what's this good for? Well, of course, a rooftop tent up top if you wanted to do that. These are the Molly panels, so you can get different bags and accessories that work with these panels to hang off the side. And then hey, even if you just have, you know, ratchet straps and bungee cords, you could attach all kinds of things to this rack in terms of tools, camping equipment, whatever else you want to bring with you. And the nice thing about having a bed rack is you then keep your bed empty, so then you can pack things underneath still and actually use your bed. So you get that functionality. And then one other thing I'll call it on the rack, even integrated lights that of course work with the lights on your truck. So this is just another example of why going for the OEM option is always generally going to mean better integration with that accessory. Another neat upgrade that comes to every one of these new Tacomas, although I think it applies especially when you're off-road, is right here. This is a high lift jack point. So if you do need to lift up the rear end of this truck quite tall, maybe to switch up a tire or even to help you pack some rocks underneath the tire to get traction, whatever the case may be, it's a really easy point to get to with one of those high lift jacks, so you're not struggling to find a place on the truck to lift it up. So I really appreciate that nod to off-roading. Another important off-road upgrade here on the TRD off-road is a rear locker. So no front locker sadly, but you do get that rear locker, which is incredibly important. Finally, let me hit you with the towing and payload. So on the hitch back here, 2-inch hitch receiver, you're going to pull 6,400 pounds. And then let's go check the door jamb sticker for payload. On this truck as it sits, you're talking about 1,200 pounds of payload. Let's look underneath this Tacoma now. So first of all, I like to point out the tow hooks up front. You do have a pair of them. They're a little bit deep underneath this bumper, but honestly not too bad. And Toyota learned its lesson from the Tundra. You got to have tow hooks in the front of your truck, and Tacoma does. So yes, we go from this plastic fascia up here right into our first skid plate. This is my magnet right here. And that skid plate, hopefully you can hear it too, is actually plastic. Now it's very likely some kind of composite plastic, so a little bit tougher than sort of just your general plastics, but yes, plastic nonetheless. And this is where you're gonna see sort of the price difference, because if this was a TRD Pro or a Trail Hunter, that thing's gonna be aluminum or steel. Now we get back to our next skid plate, also plastic. And again, you can probably just see here how much that flexes. It feels fairly rigid, but my concern is that when you ultimately really push down on this thing, it's just gonna break. It's not even gonna dent like metal would. It's just gonna shatter and snap. So yes, front two skids here are plastic. Let's roll back. You do get a little baby skid plate right here for your transfer case, and that one is steel. So there's your first nod to steel. Fuel tank does get a full-length skid plate. Also that composite plastic on the fuel tank. Now as we get to the very back, you'll see your Bilstein shock absorbers with remote reservoirs. And these actually have remote reservoirs all the way around on all four corners. So I like to see that. I also like to see that the shocks are mounted outboard of these trailing arms. So they're really not gonna get in the way. The shocks are right next to the tire. So when the tire goes up on an obstacle, the shocks are gonna go up as well, keeping them from dragging in the mud. Yeah, and then the final thing, a full-size spare tire hanging out back here at the rear end. Just before we find the mud though, let me hit you with the off-road numbers here on the TRD off-road. So body ground clearance here comes in at 11 inches. The approach angle is 32.5 degrees. Departure angle is 22.2 degrees, while the breakover angle is 24.7 degrees. Okay folks, off-roading begins now here in the Tacoma, and my very first impression before I even hit a single obstacle, this thing is just dead simple, feels kind of old school. I have my manual transmission, my locker, and I have 4-low, and that's about it from behind the wheel when it comes to off-road equipment. I don't even get multi-terrain select, which are those different drive modes, because I have the manual here. Now I do have 3 different drive modes. I have Sport, Normal, and Eco. I'm just going to run it in normal mode. And yes, I am going to immediately go down into 4-low, because with the manual, I want those slow speeds. It's even more important. It's dinging at me trying to get into 4-low right now. Even this feels old school. Let's see if I shake it a bit. Come on. Yep, there it goes. So it just takes a beat, and sometimes it takes a little bit of movement from the driver or passengers in the truck to get that thing to pop in. But now, 4-low, first gear. Let's creep into the ditch. So this is always a good test of our angles, especially approach angle on the far side of the ditch to see if the bumper's gonna rub before the tire gets there. So creeping in now. And yes, I'm trying to run this thing very slowly. So it's not really a momentum thing. It's all about grip on the tires. And I'll check with cameraman Liam. What do you think?
Very close, but I think you're going to be okay.
Okay. It's going to start climbing now. So that's all tire now?
Yeah, you're just in the garage.
Okay. Nice. Well, it climbed that easily enough too, which I like to see. And it's a little wet out here today. But okay. Climbed right through there. That was also the first test of grip from the tires, and so far so good. Now we'll run it through the ruts. Creeping into the offset ruts now, again, there's water in them, so mud and traction is going to be a factor. And this is really a test for lockers. Now, I'm not going to use the locker unless I have to, because if a truck can make it through without the locker, that's even more impressive, because then it's just using its own traction control to split power side to side. So now my front passenger drops down, and in just a moment, that rear passenger is going to lose contact with the ground, and we'll see what the truck does. Right about here. Spinning. Spinning. Nice. Seems like it's figuring it out. Nice, Toyota. Oh, the next spot here, spinning. I can feel the brake-based traction control doing its thing. Yep, very nice. So when the two opposing tires lose traction, in the second example there, that's front passenger, rear driver, I could feel the brake kicking in on the tires that were spinning, and that allows the truck to get power over to the wheels that needed it. So good to know the locker's here, but also good to know Toyota has a very quick-acting traction control system, so it makes the locker even less necessary. All right, starting off solid. Now on to the real hard stuff. Okay, folks, now we're in the mud here on the hydro line. And my first impression is that the tires are better than I thought they would be. Really haven't been spinning all that much. Have been belly dragging a few times through these ruts. But outside of that, things are feeling very calm and controlled. I've basically been in first, a little bit in second gear, but in low, yeah, the speeds are perfect down in first. Oh yeah, bit of slip there, and that's just again because the belly was dragging and it kind of hung up for a second. But the grip on the tires has been able to get me through every single time. So far so good. Now into the deep part. Diving in now. A little more speed. Nice. And yeah, with the gear reduction, power feels good. Oh, there's that rock, no problem. Bumping up and over those ones. Now I'm onto the hill. We'll see if I have anything connect underneath. Right on. Right on, Tacoma. Yeah, this is feeling good, and again, old school is still the best word I have for everything about the way this truck is feeling, which is a rewarding feeling, because I know there's not a bunch of drive modes and computer brains that are helping me through this. It's very much just me and the truck versus the trail, and I love that. One other thing I have to mention coming down the hill, back to old school, no hill descent control or anything like that in this truck, no trail control. So this is gearing. This is 4 low first gear. My foot is off the brake. That's 3 kilometers an hour. That's 4 kilometers an hour. That is pretty good, and I should mention too, when you get the manual, you get a 430 rear end. So your low range ratio is going to be even lower, and yeah, that's really good. Did hit a couple rocks there on my belly. So far, clearance has been the only real issue. But it hasn't been a big enough problem that the Tacoma couldn't overcome. And now back through the swamp. Very nice, Taco. Very nice. All right, folks, we've made our way over to the left hook, and we're going to run our brand new trail uppercut that we just added to the Ironwood test facility. So we're going to jump right into the deep part here on the left hook, see what happens. If there's anywhere that's going to challenge these tires, it's going to be up this muddy hill. So let's see. So far, feeling solid. Got it in first, but I am actually going to upshift to second in 4 low to try to get just a little bit of speed, because here comes the hill. Okay, yeah, a little slip there, but barely any. Now up the hill, over the rocks. Seriously, color me impressed by these tires. They're just not quite as aggressive as what I expect to see on an off-road truck like this, and not as aggressive as the top trim trucks. So in my gut, I kept thinking, you know what, these are just not going to feel as good. They feel great. I got no complaints yet, and you know what, if that's actually going to save me a few bucks, well then that's good news. Now, yeah, we're going to go down the brand new trail uppercut, see how it feels. Up to this point in the video, I think the truck has been performing great off-road, and I told you off the bat, this thing is actually fairly affordable. So now let me answer that question for you. How affordable is it? Well, here in Canada, the truck you see in this video is gonna sell for right around $53,000, and then in the United States, it's about 10 grand cheaper at 43. And for a bit of perspective, here in Canada, the TRD Pro sells for over $80,000, same as the Trail Hunter. So there is a $30,000 gap from this truck up to those top tier trucks. So now that you have those numbers in mind, let's complete running the uppercut here and just talk about what we're really missing for that money, or maybe what we're not missing for that money, because that's really what the question comes down to, right? Is it going to be worth it if you just want to spend the 50? Yeah, let's keep on going with that in mind. And now, folks, we're coming down the muddy, rocky hill here on Uppercut. And the only thing really tricky about this hill, it's kind of a side hill. You're not going straight down, you're at an angle. So the grip sort of side to side, the lateral grip is very important with these tires. And I felt a bit of a slide there to the driver's side, but truly not bad. Now, this is actually the very first mid-sized truck to ever run Uppercut. And this applies to all mid-sizers, but it needs to be said every time, this truck feels right-sized out here. On this trail, which is a little tight, frankly, in some spots, this truck feels like it fits perfectly. We continue on now into the swamp section, and there's actually a bit of standing water. It's definitely a little bit squishy in here. In the springtime, this should be nothing but water. Now, I do have that monster rock down there. And I'm going to try to put my passenger side tire right onto it. Right there. Oh, rubbed a little bit there on the rocker. Oh, and I did get a bit of slip there. Yeah, and there's a bit of water over here too. So I'm not going to stop. Try to keep my momentum up at least a little bit. Uh-oh. Now I'm really spinning. Okay, come on, Tacoma. Come on, Tacoma. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Keep going. Keep going. I never lost forward momentum, but boy, was I digging in right there. Whew. I thought I was going to get stuck for a second. Yeah, when the springtime comes and that's underwater, it's going to be interesting, because even now, with a bit of water, that was squishy. But, still, tires got me through. Maybe that was the first section where I can say, yeah, you know, a better tire might have got me through there with a little more confidence, but they still got me through. Can't complain about that. So that slip back there, that was really, again, the first time I felt something today that didn't feel great. So again, maybe the argument could be made that, yeah, better tires might have got me through easier. Now here's a tight squeeze section. And this is where I will also say I do appreciate the modern suite of cameras on these off-road trucks, because through a section like that, yeah, it's nice to have that forward-facing camera looking at your corners to help you totally place the vehicle. Now, like any of these things, you don't need the cameras to get through here, and that's again why this truck has that old school feeling, because in an older truck, yeah, of course there were no cameras, so I'm not going to sit here and say you need them, but they are helpful, and it is another thing that I'm feeling like I'm missing compared to a lot of those, again, top-tier off-road trucks, especially even the ones from Toyota, TRD Pro and Trail Hunter. They have awesome onboard cameras. Even that underbody camera view, Toyota's really perfected. So yeah, the lack of cameras here, I notice it. It would be nice to have. But I mean, in terms of actually just driving over these trails, we're doing great, man. This thing is just chugging along. Again, 4 low in first gear. I like the speed control. The gearing is really seems to be set up well for this. And the size of the truck feels good. So coming through there, yeah, man, it feels really good. I'm feeling great about this thing so far. Maybe slight tire deficiency and missing some cameras, but outside of that, we're good to go. And then the real question is that $30,000 worth of equipment? Yeah, I don't think so. So we got a couple more things we can do to keep trying to find the differences. But in general, I'm feeling pretty dang good about this truck. Now I'm on-road here in the TRD off-road, and we can compare a few more things to the top trim TRD Pro and Trail Hunter. First of all, just the way this thing drives on-road is quite good, because don't forget, every single Tacoma, save for the absolute base model, has moved away from leaf springs. So we're getting coil springs in the rear end, and that does lend itself to a softer on-road ride. No stiffness, no chattering coming out of the back end. And then heck, the fact that we have that bed rack back there adding in a bit of weight over the bed too, yeah, it just makes this thing ride really nice going down the road. And compared to a Pro or a Trail Hunter, honestly, they're just about the same. The TRD Pro is going to feel a little softer sprung, and, you know, just a little bit more compliant, ready to eat stuff up. But for the most part, if you're driving on a straight flat road, you're not going to feel a huge difference. The other differences are apparent sort of in the interior equipment that's here. So this truck, of course, has cloth seats. Those trucks get the nicer fake leather seats. This truck, the seats here are manual as well, so I got to move myself forward and back. You don't get the powered seats, things like that. I don't get dual zone climate control here. I don't get wireless charging for my phone. But we do still get a ton. Don't forget, every Toyota gets Safety Sense 3.0 as standard, so I still have radar-based cruise control and lane keep assist. All of that technology is here. I even get the fully digital gauge cluster in this truck, so I'm not stuck with the manual gauges, although I would be fine with that. Either way, fully digital gauge cluster. And then I do get the smaller screen in the center stack, but that doesn't matter that much these days on Toyotas, because there was a time when if you got the smaller screen for the infotainment system, you also got a lesser version of the infotainment system. You got different technology. That's not the case here in the Toyota. It's just the exact same infotainment system as a Pro or Trail Hunter or a Limited, but it's just presented on a slightly smaller screen. So I can totally live with that and save the money there. So when you look at the interior, yes, the differences are apparent. Those trucks also just get a lot more little kind of design features, more color, stuff like that. But the bulk of what this truck is, yeah, it doesn't really change that much, I would say. Now, of course, it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for the ultimate daily driver with all of the features, yeah, you're going to want to spend the money. But if we are really going after the heart of the off-road crowd, I think this truck probably better suits more off-roaders, because you're getting all of the equipment you need without anything superfluous, without anything extra that you're never going to use. Basically, everything that's here for off-roading, you are going to use it. Now, the other place that this truck sets itself apart massively is with the suspension. So we do get upgraded Bilstein here on the TRD off-road, but we don't get the Fox suspension from the TRD Pro or the Old Man Emu suspension from the Trail Hunter. And rather than just talk about it, I am actually going to go hit a rutted out old dirt road right now to really see if I can feel those differences. Because like I just said, all those other things, yeah, the trucks aren't massively different, but I think when it comes to the suspension feeling, at high speeds specifically, they're going to feel very different. Let's give it a shot. Okay, let's see how the off-road now serves as a Baja truck. There's lots of potholes on this road, but they're also full of water, so we're gonna be splashing real good. I got it in sport mode, two-wheel drive. That's 30, oh man. So yeah, that's 30 kilometers an hour. Well, even at 30, as I was hitting the water, I was feeling just how stiff this thing really was. Yeah, and I knew this was the case, but I feel like I had to really feel it to understand it. This is going to be the biggest difference between this truck and a Pro, and somewhat the Trail Hunter. Once your speeds pick up, you're just not going to have the suspension. You're going to run into that suspension limit really quickly. So I will fully admit that if high speed, yeah, Baja style desert off-roading is your thing, you're probably going to want the suspension tuning out of the TRD Pro because you're going to feel a massive difference. I just hit this road at around 30 kilometers per hour and it already felt like it was pretty much maxed out and my head was going to start hitting the roof pretty soon. So yes, you're going to find the limits of the suspension here a lot quicker than you would on the top trim truck. And that's why I wanted to do this, to really feel the differences. Oh man, but it is fun. But you know what? Still pretty dang good for what it is. The Bilsteins feel, you know, slightly better than what you're going to find on the basic Tacoma as well. So there's your one massive differentiator, is at high speeds. Outside of that, for just crawling through the bush and hitting the mud like we did, yeah, this truck is going to be nearly as good as those top trim trucks are. Now, you can see where the cost savings are. Things like, you know, heavy duty plastic skid plates rather than having actual metal down there. The tires, you know, are probably a little bit more affordable, these tires, than the tires that they put on those top trim trucks. But then you get out here in the real world and that stuff matters, but it only matters so much. So I think that the main takeaway here has to be that there is some pretty dang good value baked into this truck. You hear the price at 80 grand on a TRD Pro and it's like, no, I don't care how good that truck is. It's never gonna feel like it's a good value unless it does some unbelievable things. And is it a good truck? Of course it is. But then when you get out on the same trail in a truck $30,000 cheaper and it does essentially the exact same things, it's just hard not to look at this truck and think this is a good value, while those top trim Toyota trucks are just not good value. And then the other thing is true as well. I think for the hardcore off-road crowd, a lot of those people want to modify their vehicles anyway. So this is also a great starting point. And then if you gave me this truck and said, here's an extra 30 grand to go to the aftermarket, you could build this thing up in an incredible fashion and really make it the way you want. So I think the very simple, if we're going to boil it down to, can you find value these days in trucks and especially in off-road trucks? And the answer is yes. You're looking at it right here with the Tacoma TRD Off-Road.
Well, folks, we are coming to the end of this one, and yes, I think I have found it. Some real value in the pickup truck segment right here in this TRD Off-Road. Now, yes, there's a clear difference between this and a TRD Pro. You're not getting the same power, you're not getting the same, you know, interior creature comforts, and then especially when the speeds pick up, you're not getting the same suspension package. But I would say for the vast majority of off-roaders, this is plenty capable right here. And then like I also mentioned, this is a really nice blank canvas. If you want to spend some more money on the aftermarket, you go for this truck and then you can upgrade it however you want. So yes, is the TRD Pro different? Sure. Is it better? Sure. Is it $30,000 better? I absolutely don't think so. I don't think that gap is all in the technology and in the features you're getting. I think a big chunk of that money is just the image and the badge that you are paying for. So with that in mind, if I had to pick, yeah, I'm going for the off-road every single time. And like I said, folks, that is it for this one. Now, of course, I need to hear from you. What do you think? Is this good value or is this still overpriced? I do want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. So drop down there right now, leave me that comment. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member of Truck King, and then come right back here to the channel to see what we're testing next.